So just
So how it work? Do you ask me questions or?
uh, y- as you feel it's the best way to go through this, I'm just opening the questionnaire so it'll be easier for me to follow.
Mhm.
And we can, yeah.
Yeah, then we can go
Uh,
through the questions one by one, and I try
yes,
to
please.
respond.
We can start and going through the questions one by one.
Mhm.
Okay, so dear professor, why are diaspora and ethnic communities significant in a city like London?
Okay, I think all cities play an important role in the global circulation of people, migrant and diaspora, and especially so for a city like London, which is a global city. You know, London as a global city has been a contact zone of multiple flows of people and ideas capital all over the world. And it's not only now, actually, it has a long history, you know, London being like a magnet, pulling people from, nationally and internationally, from, since the 16th century, London has become a destination for like merchants, entrepreneurs, bankers from European countries, also for refugees from other countries where their religion was denied. And particularly after Second World War, the a large wave of immigration from the new Commonwealths, such as India, Pakistan, Caribbean, so which has greatly changed population landscape of the UK. And in the 1980s, we see the immigration from other countries like Latin America and China, which don't have the traditional colonial connection with the British Empire. And also, as the after 2004, the new EU member states also have arrived to UK in large numbers. So we're talking about London as a city has been the popular choice of migration over centuries. And around all the, among all the places in the UK, London is a global city, is what is called a super diverse urban space. There are, about what estimated 1 in 3 residents of London was born abroad. And there are more than 300 different languages spoken in London, and the same number of culture and religious practices in London as well. So it's a huge impact, and migration and diaspora make what London is and about. So I think we talk, and also we need to think about how do we define migrants. So migrants, not only the people who are here, I mean the first generation immigrants, but also the second generation, also people who are not physically based in London, but one way or the other associated with global transnational, mobilities, have a connection with the migrant landscape in London. So we're talking about, a transnational, a global thing landscape. So I think it's important to talk about, we use the term capitals, culture capital, economic capital, social capital. I think it's important to introduce another category, which is a diasporic capital, which articulate importance of migrants, the contribution of migrants to the development of London, culturally, socially, economically. And I don't know if you have seen the a brilliant, award-winning exhibition put together by Migration Museum, which is called Heart of the Nation, the migrants, the making of NHS. I think just give an example of the extent and scale of contribution made by migrant diaspora to the construction of London. Mm,
Okay.
mm,
And when we talk about this global diversity,
mm.
and people who come here and try to be integrated.
Mhm.
What does it mean to be integrated in this kind of society or in the new society? And
Mm.
how do we think, and do you think that integration is always necessary?
Integration, of course, important talk about inclusion, diversity, but sometimes the term integration behind underpinning this idea and practical integration is assumption. There is a kind of binary dichotomies between the minority and the majority. The immigrants, local and the outsider and the insider, often comes with logic of there's an antilogistic relationship between the two. The former is expected to be victimized by the latter. I think we need to probably to beyond this kind of a discourse talk about look at the creative agency of migrants, and also I think it's necessary to introduce the idea of incorporation instead of integration. Incorporation is I think is a more about a more democratic, open two-way relationship interaction between different group people. And integration is assume there is a hierarchy of the center and the periphery. Immigrants are expected to go from the periphery to the center to transform from being strange, alien, and sometimes even uncivilized to become civilized or normal, right? So this is not very in terms of productive kind of perspective. So it's sorry, yeah, and right. Yeah. So I think it's so behind this simulation, this idea of integration is probably a European Eurocentric viewpoint and a practice that governs social relations and regulate demographic diversity.
Yes, okay, thank you for your answer. I really liked it. And uh, uh, but what kind of uh, factors contribute to, let's say, successful or quick integration, but in this case, co-integration for like migrant families?
Mm. Um, I think there's no standard formula or model for integration, which vary from time to time, from generation to generation, from community to community. So it's more meaningful to talk about, I think, different pathways to integration, depending on the results of varied migration trajectory of different population from different country, the structure of migrant groups, and also the power geometry between the host and the home countries of migrants in the transnational space. I recently I working with colleagues to try to look at how the Chinese communities in London and the Latinos and the Arabics and Muslim, how they develop their own ways of integrated with the urban space of London. We look at Chinatown, like the kitchen, the Chinese restaurant, and also the annual celebration of Chinese New Year festivals. This is one way of using heritage to integrate into London as a multicultural urban space. Also, we look at like Brick Lane, the and this transformation of that part of London dominated and also joined together by people from other ethnic groups, which make it a very vibrant and inclusive social space. And also we talk about the Elephant and Castle, where traditionally is a residence a community of people from Latin America speaking Spanish. So we can very easily can see different kind of spectrum of uh, ways that we engage with urban space, make a place, and become and also to try to become a part of the London as a global city. But also when we talk about successful or not successful as a good or bad, I think there is a danger in in use this terminology, because what does it mean by good or successful? What is good or what is not is good? Defined by whom and for by whom and for whom? Probably you know about the idea, the concept of double consciousness coined by Du Bois. It's a dual self-perception, experienced originally by the African Americans, the subordinate and colonized group in oppressed societies. Is about looking, at yourself through the eyes of the racist white society, and you look back in contempt. So we're talking about being a model minority, being a successful integration. Sometimes we, play into like these predominated, racist and colonized kind of discourse and perceptions. Of course, we need to try to integrate, become part of the global London as a global society, but at the same time, we should be careful when we use this kind of sometimes restrictive and discriminative idea and categories.
Thank you so much. And now I want to focus more on cultural identity
Mhm.
and to discuss how do diaspora maintain their cultural identity while integrating into a new society.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting question, and I think we are talking about the important. Of course, there are different ways, many different ways of maintain and construct your identities. But I think one thing is very important is I think you also mentioned about is the cultural heritage. The object and the things. When we talk about migration, diaspora, always sometimes look at people on the move alone, but we forget actually alongside the movement of people is the movement of things. Where it's very important to look at how people and things interrelated to each other. And in the making of this they're called migrant worlds, right? So people make things, but also things are made by people. Things make people too. So which means that the importance of maintain the culture practice, can be very very routine, small things, everyday practice, everyday heritage, such as food making, food eating, the music you play, the language you speak, the clothes you wear. It's so many things we can happening every day. Sometimes we forget the importance of this Monday practice in the making and the maintaining of culture identities. And also not only identity, also can contributing the level of confidence and empowering people, particularly for the second generation. They are facing the predominant the culture. Which of course you need to accept, embrace different culture traditions, but also at the same time it's important to keep to maintain, develop, to know where you come from, the cultural root, and anchoring, which is the source of confidence and creativity as well. We see a lot of migrant entrepreneurs, business set up by migrants. Actually, they make best use of them in a creative way of their culture, tradition, and culture, ideas practice inspired by their cultural heritage. So it's very important to pay attention to the importance of culture. And recently, I'm working with a number of museums set up by Chinese diaspora in different parts of the world, in Philippines, Singapore, Australia, Canada, and U.S. And so we talk about how by set up um, museums or heritage centers, big or small. Many of them are come from small grassroots communities without much resources, but still they make a lot of effort to build this kind of community-oriented migration museums, collections, exhibitions, and engage with the audiences, engage with people, not only the migrant community but also other ethnic groups, which play a huge role in maintaining cultural identities. And I also want to uh, mention that when we talk about identity, identity is not is not one. There's no such thing as one single identity. People, it's very normal. People have multiple identities and multiple sense of belongings, connecting to different place, a different family and a culture. So I think it's more meaningful to talk about the identification. So it's a process of identifying, or a process, social cultural process of establishing your relationship with different places and people, rather than talking about identity as a essentialist, a bounded, or a fixed idea and entity.
Professor Wang, you somehow tackled also the following questions.
Yeah.
And I want to know how important it is for migrants to have a strong community where they settle, and also what
Mhm.
role do traditional food or ethnic stores play in preserving a cultural identity and fostering a sense of belonging?
Yeah, I think we already touched upon the idea, the importance of food and ethnic stores, other traditions in the preserving and developing cultural identity among migrants. But I would like to talk a little bit more about the idea of community. Of course, it's very important for people to feel, supporting each other and helping each other when they are, moved from their home country to a host country in a new environment. But community is a term used widely in media, also by policymakers. However, behind this term, I think there is again is a Eurocentric view of demographic diversity. It looks like people from different ethnic groups are put into different boxes. This is the Chinese, Japanese. This is Jews. This is Arabics. So
Slavic.
Slavis, and so it's seeing ethnic community as a self-evident and distinct collectivities of like people now, and uh, and as a frame through which we understand the differences. But actually the identity probably there's no such thing as a single community. Sometimes I prefer use a plural form of communities rather than a community. Right. So we need to go beyond this group-based claim to see the heterogeneous nature of the social relations and the cultural identity both within a migrant group, no matter Chinese or Slavic, and between different migrant groups. So we also need to pay attention to how migrants negotiate identities, make and remake place across ethnic, cultural, linguistic, social, political boundaries. So people talking about, no matter which migrant group come from, will face the same kind of a challenge, opportunities to how to, in the context of UK and London, how to reconfigure the existing discursive categories and the power relationship, inequality, and the exclusionary discourse, how to challenge this in the development of together in differences. And I think that's important. So not only about talking about community within a particular migrant group, but talking about how to negotiate across boundaries and have a collective identity, a collective, understanding the challenge and tackle the challenge together across ethnic boundaries. I think sometimes it's useful to use the term, at least in my research, term place and place making, rather than talking about only a country of origin as a, like the foundation at the basis of community building. So we talk about, migrants often engage with the social and the political production construction of place and home, and community mobility, and find ways to cross and manage and renegotiate hegemonic language ideologies and structure inequality within the global city. So we can talk about how people, have attachment or contributing to the construction of a particular place, like a neighborhood. Neighborhood. We all belong to a neighborhood, no matter which country come from, originally come from. We all belong to this neighborhood, this street, or this club, or this foot. We talk about your Arsenal fans, Arsenal players, or Liverpool players, regardless what color you are, what language you speak, is a community. This is a unity, right? And also, I think it's more important, effective to talk about us as all a member of, we're all Londoners, we all belong and contributing to the construction of London, a global city. And this is another way to talk about, community beyond its essentialist understanding of bonded, ethnic kind of group. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Wang. And now I want to tackle another part which is really important, and it's like stereotypes and media. And we have few questions here, and I want just to be more concise because we don't have a lot of time. Because yeah, I see that uh, this can be a whole documentary by itself. But how has Brexit and the language opposing migration impact migrants in the UK? And I want
Mhm.
also to talk about what role does media play in shaping public perception of migration and influencing policy decisions?
Mm,
And um have you observed any shifts in stereotypes about migrants over time? And how do these stereotypes affect their personal and social opportunities?
mm. Um, I think, sorry, I think sometimes the media language or the language used by media, particularly after Brexit, is a toxic. Toxic is has impacted the public perception of migrants negatively, and it's so it's very important. We can now change this the media discourse and public discourse overnight. So what I think important for for migrant for migrant groups, individuals, organization take the initiative to change the narrative. And there are a number of migrant advocacy groups. Recently, I co-lead a research center called Homeland, stand for Hub on Migration, Excel, Language and Spaces. So we organize an event to celebrate International Migration Day together with an advocacy group called Migrant Voice. So this is all about, we talk about the, positive impact made by migrants. We invite people from different sectors, engineer, entrepreneur, hospitality, education, to share the experience and story with audiences when we to show that migrants make Britain great. So I think it's just an example of how we can and we need to change gradually and gradually the narrative, the discourse, imposed from above, shaped by the media, from our perspective. But also, we need to. It's important to challenge not only the narrative but also what is behind the narrative. I think it's a more challenging task, which is the power relationship behind a narrative. This which will take a much longer time to work on to change towards better. It's a long way to go, but it starts from now from us. And in terms of the role plays the media, as I said before, it's a very powerful media has a very powerful power of framing understanding in the public, frame ideas. People don't have, a lot of people don't have the opportunity to direct interact with people, with migrants, with people from other culture, ethnic background. And so their understanding of migrant diaspora come, mainly from the media description, that is framing. So I think as academics, it's very important for us to do research and participate in social, actions to beyond to ask questions, to make argument have impact beyond the sometimes simplistic, hegemonious headlines of newspapers, media report. It's very important to to develop. I think from the the academic perspective, from perspective of a scholar, to develop kind of partnership and collaboration between universities and migrant organizations, groups to form, to enhance knowledge exchange, and also with policymakers to facilitate research-informed policymaking, research-informed social practices, and also like I think the module you are taking, the documentary you are making is also very important. It's a very effective way, using these video, media, documentary film, effectively communicate with people. It's part of education, we participate in. Also, the output and the result coming from this educational program can inspire people to make them have a better, broader understanding of the issue we are talking about. I think is, and ultimately, all working together to make a change to the world we live in. I think that's very important. And also, I think important is develop international exchange collaboration between migrant groups and scholars and policymakers in not only in the UK but transnationally in different part of the world, to learn from each other, the experience and the challenges. And also, again, I'm working on a research project which to set up a platform to bring together, migrant museums from different countries, have dialogue on how to collaborate and represent a migrant and to contribute to the construction on an inclusive society from the lens of museum and heritage. Yeah, that's some. Yeah, I think basically I'll address
Professor,
all the questions, some of the questions on media
yeah,
and framing. Yeah.
Professor Wang, we are like at the end of our interview, and I just want to ask you the final question. And since like we tackled a lot of things and we received a new perspective on how some things should work, unfortunately, uh, we cannot change everything by night. And this European and westernized idea of integration, it's still really uh, there somehow.
Mm-hmm.
But in your opinion, what are the strategies that are most effective in creating balance between perceiving cultural heritage and fostering integration in this diverse society like London?
Mm. Yeah, I think creating a balance between preserving cultural heritage. Again, I think there's no single model in supporting integration because I think I think developing, as I said before, developing collaboration and knowledge exchange between academics and migrant groups and policymakers is strategically important to develop, creating a balance between cultural heritage and foster integration in the diverse society like London. The importance of cultural practice and also have organizing events and research publications and to how to say, to inspire people and to give people more knowledge and opportunity to coming together to exchange idea, discuss and produce a very to create productive space opportunity for people have more opportunity to
Professor
talk
Wang,
about this idea. Yeah.
Uh, let's for 1 minute just take off the academic in you,
Mm.
but focus on your personal experience on
Mm.
living in London. You come from
China.
Chinese background,
Yeah.
and how was this process for you living in a new city and yeah, just a personal
Mm.
view on your journey.
Mhm.
It can be short, but maybe relevant.
Yeah, yeah. I've been in London for 16 years for now. Yeah. So I think I benefit from um, being at University of Westminster and London, as a multicultural, multilinguistic university. And compared to other parts of the UK, I think London is more welcoming and tolerate for people from a different country, different cultures. I think I enjoy doing research here because give me the opportunity to engage with to have a very in-depth investigation of the issue of migration and the diaspora. Yeah, London as global city offered a very rich and diverse opportunities, like a site of for research, a research site. So I had opportunities to work with people from different part of the world, different culture, work together to investigate the issue of migration and diaspora. And I'm not sure if you're aware of this book I co-edited with my colleague Terry Lam. It's on particularly on migration in London. We bring together a number of case studies, look at different migrant groups in London and how to develop, to try to develop a new understanding approach to the topic. And of course, it's also challenging. And so it's and also I think also we are based in London. I based in London also maintain connections, transnational connections, always with where I come from originally, with friends and family in different part of the world. So it's so as again as we are migrants is always transnational subject. We are it's always negotiated relationship with here and there, now and the past and the future. So it's a it's a challenge being a migrant and diasporic subject. It's a challenge, but also it's give you a lot of opportunities. So how to balance the challenge and opportunities. And I think it's becoming more and more normal that being on the move. No matter you are called or not migrant, you are people are increasingly on the move, and mobility has become a normality. So we are now in the age of global mobility. So it's not something abnormal, and it actually is quite usual to embrace this kind of opportunity created by mobility and to becoming make as much contribution as you can to the university, to the society, and to the nation as well.
Professor Wang, I really appreciate this interview with you. It was really lovely. And thank you so much for helping us to
Yeah.
have the academic perspective on our topic. I will, I don't know how we will squeeze everything we talked here in like a really short documentary, but we will find a way. I just want to thank you once again for your time,
Yeah, my
and
pleasure. Yeah. Mm.
it was really lovely to meet you. And I hope we can meet in person next semester.
Yeah,
And yes,
unfortunately, because very short notice. Otherwise, I'll be happy to meet in person to do the interview. But I think it works okay online.
yeah, I
Yeah,
hope
yeah,
so.
definitely. You're great to meet you. I think that is the project is sounds great. Yeah, all the best for your
Thank you.
project.
Yes, when we will have the whole documentary, we will share it with you as well. So just to see
Yeah, please
how
do
we have.
after it's completed. I'd like be happy to to receive the link to the documentary and to learn and to enjoy and to learn.
Okay, thank you so much once again, and I hope everything will go well. I wish you a happy holiday and
Yeah,
fruitful 2025.
yeah. Okay, thank you. Good holiday to you as well. Bye
Thank
bye.
you so much, Professor. See
Bye bye.
you. Bye.